you begin to notice something you once overlooked. Reality isn't fixed, it's responsive. Every detail around you bends to the lens through which you look. That's the quiet revolution, one that's happening constantly whether or not you're aware of it. Your attention isn't passive, it's a brushstroke painting the world you step into. Think about this. When you wake up in the morning, you already set a direction without speaking a word. The thoughts you allow in those first minutes, the emotions you rehearse, the energy you carry into the day, they all decide which version of reality you're about to meet. If your mind drifts toward dread, the world mirrors back obstacles. If you hold a thread of gratitude, even the mundane feels softer, lighter, more supportive. The change isn't just external, it begins inside the observer. Science gave us an illustration through the double-slit experiment. Particles scattered like waves when no one was watching, yet collapsed into form when observed. What does that mean for you? It means that the gaze you cast, the emotional presence behind it, has the power to collapse possibility into form. You aren't waiting on life to unfold. Life is waiting on you to look at it in a particular way. Picture a commute to work. On one morning you focus on traffic, delays, the weight of being late. Stress mounts, horns blare louder, and every red light feels like sabotage. On another morning, the same route exists, but your awareness is elsewhere, on the rhythm of your breath, on music that stirs calm, on noticing sunlight breaking through clouds. The external conditions may not shift dramatically, yet your internal observation rewrites the entire experience. One version leaves you drained, the other strengthens you for the day ahead. Same road, different observer, different reality. This is the revolution most never realize they're conducting. You've been observing unconsciously, letting your focus wander into old fears, stale memories, or imagined disasters. And each time you collapse those possibilities into something that feels more solid, more real. But the truth is, the solidity was always optional. You authored it by continuing to look. When you recognize this, you begin to claim authorship. No longer do you sit in the audience of life's theater, waiting for the show to surprise you. You are the projector, the script, the lighting design. Every glance you take, every thought you feed with emotion, writes the next frame. So here's the invitation. Start seeing your attention as sacred currency. Every second, you spend it. You can spend it on patterns you want more of, or you can leak it into cycles that weigh you down. There's no neutral transaction. Observation always pays a reality into form. You don't need to believe this on blind faith. Try it for one day. In the next 24 hours, choose one thing to observe differently. Perhaps it's a relationship, see potential instead of complaint. Perhaps it's your body, notice vitality instead of fatigue. Watch how your energy shifts, how tiny external echoes begin to respond. The results may seem subtle at first, but they're proof of a larger mechanism. Attention calls the world into shape. The quiet revolution begins here, in the way you choose to look. You are not waiting for permission. You are not trapped in someone else's script. You are the observer, and observation is creation. Once you truly grasp this, you can never see your world the same way again. When you first hear that observation shapes reality, it can sound abstract, like poetry rather than principle. But the collapse of possibility into form is not just theory. It's something you can feel in your body. It's the alchemy between focus and emotion, the way your inner state turns the invisible into the visible. Every possibility around you exists like a wave fluid, flexible, waiting. The moment you pair thought with emotion, that wave folds. It condenses into one direction, one choice, one outcome. This is what scientists observed with particles shifting from wave to matter. But in your life, collapse happens whenever you hold a focus long enough and infuse it with energy. That's when the unseen begins to harden into your lived experience. Consider this. Two people can imagine a new job. One runs mental images while vibrating with fear. What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? Their energy cancels the picture before it can breathe. The other imagines the same role but with coherence, steady breath, calm heart, a grounded sense that they belong. That alignment is what collapses potential into reality. It's not about intensity, it's about harmony between your thought and your feeling. To sense this in yourself, try a 1-minute practice right now. Close your eyes for a few breaths. Picture a simple object, a candle flame, a leaf, a smooth stone. Hold the image in your mind while you breathe slowly, evenly. Notice how the picture sharpens when you pair it with calm presence. Then, shift the picture to something you want in your life, a conversation, an opportunity, a feeling of health. Instead of forcing detail, allow the emotional texture to build. Breathe into it. Let your body register what it feels like. In less than 60 seconds, you've rehearsed collapse. You've taught your system what coherence feels like. Why does this matter? Because most of the time, collapse happens unconsciously. You dwell on what isn't working, pour emotional energy into it, and solidify it further. It feels like proof that life is stuck, when in truth, you've simply practiced one form of collapse again and again. The field is neutral. Your alignment gives it instruction. Think of your focus like a beam of light in a dark room. Whatever you shine it on gains weight, gains clarity, takes center stage. The rest of the room remains potential, but your beam decides which possibility crystallizes. Every time you flood that spotlight with fear, you sculpt more of what you fear. Every time you light it with gratitude or trust, you sculpt possibility into form. There is a deep responsibility in this. Collapse doesn't demand perfection, but it does demand honesty. You can't fake coherence. You can't say one thing while feeling another and expect the field to match your words. The alignment between your inner state and your chosen focus is what instructs reality. So the question becomes, where are you consistently collapsing your energy? Into limitation or into potential? Each moment is a fork, each focus a vote, and every vote eventually adds up to a reality so convincing you forget you authored it. This is why beginning with small practices matters. A 1-minute coherence drill trains your body to know what alignment feels like. Over time, those micro moments become natural, and when bigger choices arise, career, relationships, health, you already know how to stabilize the signal. Collapse stops being random, it becomes conscious. You are not just imagining, you are rehearsing presence. You are sculpting timelines with your breath, with your awareness, with the emotion you choose to pair with your vision. And in that pairing lies the architecture of the life you will walk into next. Imagine standing at a crossroads where two invisible roads stretch before you. One leads to the familiar patterns you've walked 1,000 times. The other leads to a possibility you've barely dared to feel. Both exist in the field, but only one will become solid. The deciding factor isn't luck, destiny, or chance, it's which one you choose to observe long enough for it to collapse into your experience. This is the essence of the two timelines exercise. It's not about pretending your life is different. It's about noticing how vividly you feed each option with your attention and emotion. When you can sense the difference in your body, you realize collapse isn't mystical, it's practical. Here's how to do it. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths to clear space. Now, imagine timeline 1, the current trajectory, if nothing changes. Feel what it's like to repeat the same thoughts, the same habits, the same emotional cycles. Picture waking up in the same environment 5 years from now, still running the same inner scripts. Don't just see it, let your body register it. Does your chest tighten? Does your breath shorten? Hold that for 30 seconds, then release. Now, shift to timeline 2. This time, bring to mind the version of you who has shifted focus, who has begun to observe possibility rather than limitation. Picture how that future self carries themselves, posture taller, breath steadier, eyes more alive. Imagine the opportunities that orbit them, the people they attract, the conversations that flow with ease. Let your body feel the difference. Expand into it with breath. Stay for another 30 seconds. When you open your eyes, you've just witnessed collapse in rehearsal. Both futures exist, both are accessible, but the one you feed consistently is the one that stabilizes. This is not about fantasy. It's about coherence. Timeline 2 becomes inevitable not because you forced it, but because you returned to it often enough, with enough emotional presence, until your system began to recognize it as normal. Think of it like tending two gardens. One is full of weeds but familiar. You know exactly what it looks like, even if it drains you. The other is fertile but requires attention you need to water, to nurture, to keep choosing it before it flourishes. The weeds grow fast if left unchecked, but the fertile soil responds quickly once you devote yourself to it. Your observation is the watering. Your emotional resonance is the sunlight. Without them, the new garden stays dormant. With them, it becomes the only reality you see. What this practice shows is that your nervous system is the key. When you inhabit timeline 1, your body contracts. When you step into timeline 2, your body expands. That felt difference is the compass you need. Collapse favors coherence, and your body tells you when you've found it. So use this exercise not just once, but often. Run it before decisions. Run it when doubt rises. Run it when you're tempted to fall back into familiar fears. Each repetition strengthens your ability to notice when you're feeding the wrong timeline. Each time you choose differently, you shift the weight of reality. The two timelines are always present. The question is not whether they exist, but which one you stabilize with your gaze. And in that choice lies the quiet power to redirect the course of your life. Most people don't fail at shifting reality because the field refuses them. They fail because their attention keeps looping back into old grooves, reinforcing the very story they want to escape. The collapse doesn't discriminate, it simply responds to consistency. And for most, consistency belongs to fear, worry, and doubt. Think about how the mind usually works. You set an intention. I want abundance. I want health. I want peace. Yet minutes later, you're scanning for evidence, checking for proof, measuring whether anything has changed. That checking is actually feeding the opposite signal. It tells the field, I don't have it yet, I'm still lacking. And the field reflects exactly that. Another trap is emotional mismatch. You visualize a new opportunity, but your body is vibrating stress. You picture love, but your nervous system is bracing for rejection. The collapse doesn't listen to the picture, it listens to the frequency. When thought and feeling aren't coherent, the field can't stabilize the signal. There's also the reflex of reactivity. Someone criticizes you, and without pause, you collapse your focus back into defensiveness. A bill arrives, and instantly, you collapse into scarcity. Each reaction becomes another vote for timeline 1. It isn't malicious, it's automatic. But automatic observation is still observation, and it carries weight. So how do you interrupt these patterns? With a single, conscious pause. That pause is the wedge that stops automatic collapse and invites intentional choice. It can be as simple as one breath, one exhale, one question: where do I want to shine my light right now? Here's a quick one-step technique. The moment you notice yourself spiraling, checking for proof, replaying a fear, bracing for the worst, stop and touch your chest lightly. Feel the pressure of your hand. Take one slow inhale, one longer exhale. Whisper inward, reset. This breaks the automatic feed of energy into limitation. In that reset, you reclaim authorship. It may sound too small to matter, but it's exactly the kind of micro-interruption that shifts everything. Without it, you collapse unconsciously dozens of times a day. With it, you create space to redirect your focus, even if only for a moment. And each redirected moment adds weight to timeline 2. Remember, collapse favors coherence, not perfection. You don't need to hold the new vision flawlessly. You just need to return to it more often than you feed the old one. The field isn't tallying your failures. It's amplifying your most consistent state. So don't worry about erasing every fear or silencing every doubt. Focus instead on noticing when you're about to collapse limitation, then pause. That pause is where you reclaim power. That pause is the doorway back into intentional observation. And this is where most people miss, not in their desire, not in their vision, but in their consistency. They forget that every reaction is an observation. Every thought rehearsed with feeling is another instruction to the field. Until you catch it, you keep recycling the same reality. But once you catch it, even once, you prove to yourself that a different path is possible. And that proof, no matter how small, is the seed of a new world. It's one thing to know observation shapes reality. It's another to feel it in your body, to translate concept into a signal that resonates through your entire system. Without embodiment, your focus floats in your head, detached, fragile, easily hijacked by fear. With embodiment, your attention becomes magnetic. It broadcasts coherence so clearly that the field cannot help but respond. Think of your body as an antenna. Your posture, your breath, your micro-choices all broadcast subtle frequencies. Even when you aren't speaking, your system is sending instructions to the field. The question is, are you transmitting the energy of scarcity and tension, or the energy of trust and presence? To anchor this truth, let's turn it into practice. 3 rituals, each under 2 minutes, that align your physiology with the frequency you want to stabilize. Anchor 1. Breath pattern reset. Sit tall, shoulders loose. Inhale for 4 counts through your nose. Hold softly for 2. Exhale for 6 counts through your mouth. Repeat 3 rounds. As you exhale, imagine old static leaving your field. As you inhale, picture your chest filling with steady light. This simple rhythm trains your nervous system to link calm with expansion, coherence with presence. Anchor 2. Posture signal. Stand with your feet, hip-width apart. Roll your shoulders back gently. Imagine a string lifting the crown of your head. Now, breathe once into this posture. Notice how instantly different it feels compared to slumping. The field reads posture as state. A collapsed spine collapses possibility. An open stance invites expansion. You don't need perfection, just awareness of how you're broadcasting through your body. Anchor 3. Sensory scene. Close your eyes and recall one detail of your desired reality. A texture, a sound, a color. Maybe the feel of crisp paper from a contract you've signed. Maybe the hum of laughter at a dinner where you feel seen. Maybe sunlight warming your skin in a place you long to visit. Stay with that single detail for 1 breath cycle. Don't force the whole scene, just one vivid anchor. That sensory cue begins to tell your nervous system, this is real, this is safe. And the more real it feels inside, the faster the field aligns outside. Each of these anchors takes less than 2 minutes. None require special tools, and each bypasses the endless chatter of the mind. They teach your system how to feel the signal of timeline too, without waiting for external proof. And when your system learns, your field shifts. What you'll notice is subtle at first. A softer baseline of calm, a quieter mind, small synchronicities appearing where before there was only noise. These are signs that your embodied signal is taking root. The field is responding not to your words, but to the coherence of your state. Embodiment is how observation becomes sustainable. Without it, you slip back into old reflexes the moment life pushes. With it, your very presence becomes instruction. You don't need to push the field harder. You simply need to inhabit the frequency until it becomes your normal. So here's your challenge. Pick one anchor and practice it daily for a week. Not as a performance, but as a signal. Not as a demand, but as a reminder. Watch how even the smallest consistent signal begins to rewrite the shape of your days. Because when you embody coherence, you stop asking for change and start broadcasting it. And in the quantum field, broadcast always collapses into form. Shifting reality isn't just about momentary focus. It's about who you repeatedly become through your observations. every thought rehearsed, every emotion stabilized, every signal embodied slowly crystallizes into identity. And identity is the most powerful signal you can transmit to the field because it doesn't flicker with mood swings. It hums steadily beneath everything you do. Think of this as a ladder, each rung a step from fleeting observation to fully embodied identity. At the bottom rung, you're experimenting. You dabble in focusing differently, noticing brief shifts, but the old self still pulls you back. On the next rung, you catch yourself more often. You interrupt the spiral. You redirect. You feel coherence for longer stretches. Then comes the rung where it becomes habit. You don't just practice presence, you expect it. It feels odd to collapse limitation because you've trained your body to rest in expansion. Higher up the ladder, observation fuses with language. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be calm," and start saying, "I am calm." You stop narrating lack and begin speaking from sufficiency. These linguistic cues aren't fluff, they're identity rehearsals. Every word shapes how your nervous system sees itself. Above that, micro-decisions shift. You dress differently, not to impress others, but because your clothes match the version of you you're observing. You walk differently, shoulders open, because that's how your future self carries energy. You choose food, rest, conversations that resonate with timeline too, not out of restriction, but because your body has begun to crave what aligns. These details may look small, but to the field, they're enormous. They stabilize your signal far more than occasional meditation ever could. At the top rung, identity itself has flipped. You're no longer someone trying to manifest. You're someone who simply embodies the state that draws reality in. You stop performing rituals out of desperation. You live as the version who already belongs in the reality you desire. That steadiness is what makes collapse inevitable. Here's a practical way to climb the ladder. At the start of each day, write one sentence that begins with "I am." Let it reflect the frequency you want to stabilize. Not fantasy, but alignment. I am grounded. I am abundant in present. I am calm in uncertainty. Throughout the day, notice where your actions contradict this and gently adjust. Over time, the words stop being affirmations. They become descriptions of how you move. Identity alignment doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repetition, through catching yourself, through nudging micro-choices until they snowball. And once identity flips, you don't need to force focus anymore. You become the focus. You broadcast coherence without effort. That's why the ladder matters. Without it, you stay stuck in trial mode, collapsing possibilities inconsistently. With it, you mature into a signal so stable, the field has no choice but to reorganize around you. So pause here and ask, what rung am I standing on right now? And what small shift today would lift me to the next? Because your identity is already collapsing your future. The only question is whether it's collapsing the old story or the one you came here to write. Reality doesn't collapse in isolation. The moment you shift your signal, the people around you feel it, sometimes subtly, sometimes like a shockwave. Relationships act as mirrors. They reflect whether your new frequency is stabilizing or whether you're slipping back into the old. That's why this stage of the journey can feel turbulent. It isn't just you changing, it's the social field rearranging around you. When you begin observing possibility instead of limitation, those who relied on your old patterns may feel unsettled. Friends accustomed to your self-doubt might test your confidence. Colleagues used to your overgiving may push when you set new boundaries. Family who identified you as the caretaker might resist when you start caring for yourself. This isn't malice, it's resonance. The field through them is asking, are you sure this is who you are now? This is where boundaries become sacred, not as walls, but as signal stabilizers. Each time you say no to an old dynamic, you're saying yes to the timeline you're feeding. Each time you respond calmly instead of defensively, you broadcast coherence instead of collapse. Boundaries aren't about pushing others away, they're about anchoring the version of you you're choosing to stabilize. Here's practical language you can use when tested. Instead of explaining endlessly, try, "That doesn't work for me, but thank you." Love, "I hear you, and I'll choose differently this time. I value our connection, but I need to honor my energy here." Simple, clean sentences like these broadcast strength without hostility. They keep your nervous system steady and show others that your signal isn't up for negotiation. To integrate this, rehearse a short role play. Imagine someone questioning your new focus. "Why are you acting different? Why don't you react the same?" Instead of collapsing back into old explanation patterns, pause, place a hand lightly on your chest, breathe once, then respond with one of the phrases above. Practice until it feels natural. This way, when real tests arrive, your system doesn't scramble. It already knows how to hold the new signal. The more you do this, the more the social field shifts. Some relationships will fall away, others will deepen. New ones will appear that match your upgraded frequency. This isn't rejection, it's resonance adjusting. The universe always mirrors your dominant state, and people are part of that mirror. It can feel lonely at first, but understand, loneliness often signals the old frequency unraveling, making space for a new tribe to emerge. Hold steady, don't collapse into guilt or apology. Keep observing your new timeline until the social field reconfigures around it. Remember, every interaction is also an observation. Every conversation is a chance to either reinforce the old story or stabilize the new one. Boundaries, far from being selfish, are acts of alignment. They keep your focus coherent, so the field has no choice but to follow. So as you step into this stage, ask yourself, what boundaries do I need to honor to protect my frequency? And am I willing to let the field rearrange relationships so my new reality can take root? Because once you commit to that, you no longer just collapse possibility in private, you stabilize it in the open. And that's when reality truly begins to shift. If observation is the instrument that collapses possibility into form, your nervous system is the tuner. You can aim your attention with clarity, but if your body is vibrating in chaos, the signal scatters. That's why so many people get frustrated. They think they're practicing presence, yet their physiology is rehearsing panic. Coherence is impossible without nervous system alignment. You've felt this before. Maybe you tried to meditate but couldn't stop your chest from tightening. Maybe you visualized a new future while your stomach knotted. These aren't failures of will, they're signals from a system that doesn't yet feel safe in expansion. And if the body doesn't feel safe, it will collapse reality into the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. This is why trauma-aware navigation matters. You don't fight your nervous system, you guide it gently. You create conditions where your body can trust the new frequency enough to stabilize it. Without this trust, every attempt at manifestation feels like swimming against a current. With it, the current carries you. Here's a 1-minute rescue protocol you can use anytime you feel yourself spiraling. Step 1. Elongated exhale. Inhale softly through your nose for 4 counts. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 counts. Repeat 3 times. The extended exhale tells your body, you're safe. It lowers activation without effort. Step 2. Diaphragmatic reset. Place one hand on your chest, one on your belly. Breathe so your lower hand rises more than the upper. This shifts you out of shallow fight or flight breathing into grounded presence. Do it for 30 seconds. Step 3. Tactile anchors. Touch something with texture. A table edge, your clothing, your skin. Describe it silently. Smooth, warm, rough. This grounds you in the here and now, pulling energy out of runaway thought loops. In less than 60 seconds, you've reclaimed coherence. You've reminded your body that observation can be safe, that collapse into possibility won't threaten survival. But let's be clear, sometimes the field of possibility bumps against deeper wounds. If breathwork triggers panic or emotions feel overwhelming, that's a cue to seek support: a therapist, a coach, a safe guide. There's no shame in this. Healing your system is not weakness, it's foundation. A calm nervous system amplifies your signal more than any affirmation ever could. The practice is not about erasing all turbulence, it's about normalizing it, knowing setbacks will happen and equipping yourself with a toolkit to navigate them. When turbulence arrives, you don't collapse into despair. You pause, you breathe, you anchor, and you return. Each time you return, you strengthen the muscle of coherence. Think of pilots flying through storms. They don't expect clear skies every moment. They expect turbulence and train for it. Your observer practice is the same. The field doesn't punish turbulence, it simply mirrors your dominant state. As long as you can return to alignment, the signal remains intact. So don't measure your progress by how often you feel perfect. Measure it by how quickly you can return when you don't. That speed of return is power. It's what stabilizes the new timeline even in chaos. Because reality won't wait until you feel flawless. It responds to the state you inhabit most consistently. And with a nervous system that knows how to navigate, you can hold coherence long enough for the field to fold possibility into form. Observation is not a one-time miracle. It's a rhythm, a discipline, a daily practice that compounds like interest. Many people collapse reality once or twice with strong intention, only to slip back when life tests them. But the field listens to what you repeat, not what you attempt once. Consistency is the true secret. Think of this as a long game, a commitment to showing up for your focus each day until it becomes your baseline. Not as a rigid demand, but as a rhythm you can live with. Even small signals, repeated faithfully, build momentum. Over weeks and months, that momentum becomes identity, and identity is what bends the field toward permanence. To make this tangible, let's create a 7-day observer plan. It isn't complicated. It's structured simplicity that ensures you return to coherence again and again. Morning anchor. Before touching your phone, sit for 3 minutes. Place one hand on your chest, breathe steadily, and bring to mind one quality you want to stabilize: peace, vitality, abundance, clarity. Don't think about results. Feel the state. Whisper inward, "This is who I am today." Midday course correct. Set a timer on your phone for midday. When it rings, pause for 60 seconds. Close your eyes, elongate your exhale, and ask, "Where has my attention been?" If it drifted into fear or frustration, redirect it by picturing your chosen state again. This reset keeps your signal aligned. Evening signal review. Before bed, take out a journal. Write 2 reflections. 1. When did I hold the signal today? 2. When did I collapse into the old story? Don't judge, just notice. Awareness itself is practice. You'll see patterns, and patterns show you where to refine. These anchors form the skeleton of the long game. You're not trying to hold coherence 24 hours a day. You're simply creating touch points that gradually expand your baseline. With time, the space between anchors fills naturally. What matters most is steadiness, not intensity. A single day of extreme focus followed by weeks of neglect collapses nothing. But 5 minutes daily, faithfully practiced, reshapes identity. The field doesn't reward drama, it mirrors devotion. Track this for 7 days, then extend to 14, then 30. Watch how the signal stabilizes, how synchronicities cluster, how old habits lose weight. Momentum builds quietly, almost invisibly, until suddenly it feels stranger to collapse into fear than to hold coherence. That's the sign the long game is working. Remember, collapse is not about instant gratification. It's about the steady vote of attention cast day after day. The universe isn't withholding your future, it's waiting for a consistent enough signal to fold into form. So, commit to the long game. Make observation a lifestyle, not a moment. And as you do, you'll discover something profound. The timeline you once had to practice begins to practice itself through you. It becomes second nature, and second nature becomes reality. At some point in your practice, you'll notice the field begins to whisper back. Tiny echoes appear, not as grand fireworks, but as subtle confirmations that your signal is being received. These moments are proof not of perfection, but of alignment building consistency. The first signs are often micro-synchronicities. You think of someone, and they text within the hour. You imagine an opportunity, and a conversation hints at its arrival. You rehearse gratitude, and a stranger shows you unexpected kindness. These are not coincidences. They are the field rearranging itself around your broadcast. Energy changes too. Your baseline shifts. Tasks that once drained you feel lighter. Conversations flow with less friction. Even your body responds: breath easier, shoulders less heavy, sleep more restorative. These subtle physiological markers are evidence that coherence is stabilizing. The field doesn't just mirror events, it mirrors your state of being. Then come small openings, doors you didn't see before. A job posting that feels perfectly timed, a chance meeting that sparks possibility, a resource appearing right when you thought you lacked. These aren't miracles in the theatrical sense. They're the natural outcome of sustained observation. You've been collapsing possibility consistently enough that the outer world finally has no choice but to show it. But here's the key: don't make proof your obsession. If you chase evidence, you collapse back into doubt. Proof is not the destination, it's the echo. Notice it, smile at it, then return your focus to the signal. Keep watering the garden instead of uprooting it daily to check growth. Practical exercise. For 30 days, keep a proof log. Each evening, jot down one synchronicity, one shift in energy, or one small opening you experienced. No matter how minor, write it. Over time, you'll see a mosaic forming an undeniable trail of evidence that observation is sculpting reality. This log becomes an anchor when doubt whispers. And when larger proof arrives, relationships transformed, opportunities expanded, health renewed, receive it with the same steadiness you practiced in silence. Don't collapse into disbelief or frantic gratitude. Hold coherence. Let the field know this is normal now. Because the moment you normalize proof, you stabilize the new timeline further. The danger is measuring too soon. Reality unfolds like dawn, gradual light before full daybreak. If you give up in twilight, you miss the sunrise. That's why patience is power, consistency is proof, and proof, when it comes, is just the beginning. So watch for the whispers, record them, celebrate them lightly, but above all, keep observing from the place of coherence. Because the field is always listening, always answering, always ready to mirror the reality you stabilize most faithfully.